ओके, अस्सलाम वालेकुम। तो बेसिकली हमने जर्नल फिजिक्स में वी हैव टू स्टार्ट फ्रॉम द ग्राफिकल रिप्रेजेंटेशंस। वैसे तो हमने पूरा डिवाइड किया सिलेबस को, जो डेज आपके पास हैं, लेकिन आई नो दैट मोस्ट ऑफ यू स्टूडेंट्स ऑलरेडी नो अबाउट जर्नल फिजिक्स and there will be like less confusion in this section. There are few topics like turning effect, circular, work energy power, but the first topic that we have to start with is related to the graphical representations. और डेफिनेटली क्वेश्चंस जब हम सॉल्व करते हैं so mostly question consists like mass and weight questions also included with the graphical representation. Free fall motions are also included in one question. So if you have any confusion in any specific topic related to journal physics, so do let me know. So first we discuss that concept, क्योंकि इसमें ग्राफिकल रिप्रेजेंटेशन के अलावा मुझे नहीं लगता कि किसी को किसी टॉपिक में कंफ्यूजन होगी। बट स्टिल अगर किसी टॉपिक में आपको लगता है कि वो आपको रिवाइज करना है तो आप मुझे वो बताओ, अदरवाइज जब हम क्वेश्चंस कर रहे होंगे so during the question you will automatically find out that which thing is confusing in this topic or any other topic, तो हम वहाँ पे भी इजीली हमें आइडेंटिफाई हो जाएगा। क्योंकि आंसर्स मैक्सिमम आप ट्राई करना कि आप ही दो, चाहे चैट में लिखो आप या ऑडियो, जैसे आपको इजी हो, ताकि एक आइडिया रहे कि विच स्टूडेंट हैव कंफ्यूजन इन एनी टॉपिक और नॉट, तो हम उसको उतना तेजी से फिर कंप्लीट कर लेंगे। तो अगर कोई ऐसा टॉपिक मतलब मोशन से रिलेटेड, मास वेट डेंसिटी से रिलेटेड कोई कंफ्यूजन हो।
Sir,
जी।
in speed time graphs, they usually ask us to find the acceleration. And one method of doing that is by the gradient method. Can we also just use the normal method, which is v minus u over t?
Basically, if they ask about any specific point, like in graph, you have to find out acceleration at time t is equals to 10, 6 seconds like this. तो उसमें आप सिंपल एक पॉइंट से भी फाइंड आउट कर सकते हैं। बट इन सम क्वेश्चंस यू नो देयर इज अ कर्व ग्राफ, देन यू हैव टू ड्रॉ अ ग्रेडियंट। सो इन दैट केस यू हैव टू फाइंड विद द ग्रेडियंट मेथड, लाइक बाय यूजिंग अ टेंजेंट लाइन। कुछ क्वेश्चंस स्पेसिफिक आपने देखे होंगे पास पेपर्स में भी, they specifically ask about to draw gradient first and then find acceleration. अदरवाइज अगर सिंगल पॉइंट होता है एग्जैक्ट 6 सेकेंड 10 सेकेंड्स, तो उसमें कोई कंफ्यूजन नहीं होती, क्योंकि थ्रू आउट इन अ स्ट्रेट लाइन यू नो ग्रेडियंट रिमेन सेम इन अ स्ट्रेट लाइन। सिर्फ कर्व में कहीं कहीं होता है प्रॉब्लम, वरना स्ट्रेट लाइन में तो कोई आपको दो पॉइंट्स और ग्रेडियंट मेथड करने की नीड ही नहीं होती, क्योंकि स्ट्रेट लाइन है, कंफ्यूजन नहीं होता उसमें। ठीक है, लेकिन कर्व में आपको ये चीज़ नोट करनी पड़ेगी। अच्छा, एक चीज़ और आप लोग बताओ कि हम क्वेश्चन स्टार्ट करते हैं तो 23 से आप स्टार्ट करना चाहते हो या हम ओल्ड 16 17 से स्टार्ट करें।
23.
23। आप बाकी सब भी अपना दे सकते हो आउटपुट, क्योंकि मोस्ट ऑफ यू आर ऑलरेडी सॉल्विंग द पेपर्स बाय देयर सेल्फ। तो
Yes, sir.
23। 23 ओके, क्योंकि 23 में अब हमें ज़्यादातर फिजिक्स में कंफ्यूजन होती है दैट मोस्ट ऑफ द टॉपिक्स आर एक्सक्लूडेड और पेपर्स में वो हमें मिल रहे होते हैं। कंफ्यूजन ये होता है टॉपिक इंक्लूड है, एक्सक्लूड है, या हमने नहीं पढ़ा या हमें आ नहीं रहा। तो ये कंफ्यूजन्स की वजह से मैं भी यही प्रेफर करता हूँ 23 से ही आप स्टार्ट करो। मतलब इफ़ यू प्रैक्टिस पेपर्स फ्रॉम 2020 टिल 23, तो इसमें भी आपको काफ़ी आइडिया हो जाता है क्वेश्चंस का। ओके, सो वी आर स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम 23। फिर हम ये करते हैं, हम जर्नल फिजिक्स के सब कंबाइन क्वेश्चंस ही देख लेते हैं। ठीक है, क्योंकि जर्नल फिजिक्स में किसी को आई थिंक ऐसा कोई कंफ्यूजन नहीं है, सिर्फ क्वेश्चंस में डाउट्स हैं, तो वो क्लियर हो जाएंगे क्वेश्चंस के डाउट्स। ठीक है। तो दिस इज आवर फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन। It shows a ball throwing a ball at an object in a fairground, and the ball of the mass is 190 grams, and it travels horizontally with a constant speed of 6.9 meter per second. Calculate the momentum. So you have to calculate the momentum. Momentum is equals to mass into velocity. Answer is 1.3 kg मीटर पर सेकेंड. बिल्कुल सही. अच्छा, इसमें छोटी छोटी चीजें. अब ग्राम को केजी में कन्वर्ट करना, ये अब आपने माइंड में रखना है. एसआई यूनिट्स फॉलो करने. 190. So 1.3 is the momentum, and unit is kg, and for speed meter per second. अच्छा, और ये भी हम प्रैक्टिस करेंगे कि हम आंसर्स टू सिग्निफिकेंट फिगर्स में रखें, और वैल्यू ऑफ जी विल ऑलवेज बी नाउ 9.8. तो हम ओल्ड पेपर्स में भी 9.8 को ही फॉलो करेंगे ताकि वो एक प्रैक्टिस रहे. ठीक है. पार्ट बी. आफ्टर हिटिंग द ऑब्जेक्ट द बॉल बाउंसेस बैक along the same straight path with a speed of 1.5 meter per second, and the object has a mass of 1.8 kg. So you have to calculate the speed of the object after if it is hit by the ball. So we have same straight path with a speed of 1.5 meter per second, and the object has a mass of 1.8 kg. So you have to calculate the speed after it is hit by the ball.
Wait, so can you give like 5 minutes to solve the question?
Okay, you may solve by yourself, then I will write down the answer. Okay. So I got two answers from two of you, 0.56, 0.56 मीटर पर सेकेंड. ठीक है. अच्छा देखो, क्वेश्चन को अब आप थोड़ा सा लिंक करना देखोगे कि दो बॉडीज हैं. ठीक है. और वेन एवर वी आर गोइंग टू सॉल्व टू बॉडी सिस्टम, सो फर्स्ट बॉडी इज दिस बॉल. लेट्स सपोज दिस इज द फर्स्ट बॉडी m1, and this is the second one m2. So whenever we used to solve two bodies, so there is only single concept in our whole syllabus, that is the concept of momentum. और इसमें फर्स्ट पार्ट से आपको हिंट मिल जाता है कि दैट द सेकंड पार्ट इज आल्सो कनेक्टेड विद द सेम टॉपिक दैट इज एक्चुअली आस्क्ड इन द फर्स्ट वन। तो वो आपको फर्स्ट पार्ट में एक हिंट दे रहे होते हैं बेसिकली, दैट यू हैव टू यूज द सेम आइडिया टू सॉल्व द नेक्स्ट पार्ट। तो यहाँ पर भी आपने लॉ ऑफ कंजर्वेशन ऑफ मोमेंटम को यूज करना है। m1u1 प्लस m2u2 इज इक्वल्स टू m1v1 प्लस m2v2। सो इनिशियल बॉल का मोमेंटम तो आपको ऑलरेडी पता है, फर्स्ट पार्ट में आपने कैलकुलेट किया है। सो यू जस्ट राइट डाउन ओवर हियर फॉर m1u1 which is 1.3, and initially object is at rest. So object is at rest means u2, which is the initial velocity of the object, that is equals to 0. So definitely the whole momentum of the body is equals to 0. Then again m1v1. So now in question it is mentioned the ball bounces back along the same straight path with the speed of 1.5 meter per second. So after collision, ball is moving with speed 1.5, and the mass of the ball is 0.19 kg, 1.5. Mass of the object is 1.8 multiplied by unknown quantity, that is v2, and this is v1 final speed. So this is the simple concept to solve this question, and definitely you will get the answer 0.56. ठीक है, सिंपल यहाँ पर ये वाला पार्ट जो है इसे सब्ट्रैक्ट किया दूसरे एंड पर, क्योंकि इसका प्रोडक्ट 0.28 आएगा, और फिर ये 1.5, क्योंकि 1.8 v2 से मल्टीप्लाई हो रहा है, सो दैट विल बी डिवाइडेड ऑन दी अदर साइड। अच्छा, स्टार्टिंग क्वेश्चन है तो थोड़ा सा डिटेल कर रहे हैं, फिर जब एक इजी हो जाएगा सबके लिए, फिर हम थोड़ा सा इसको डायरेक्ट डायरेक्ट करेंगे सॉल्व। तो आंसर इज 0.56 मीटर पर सेकेंड। किसी को भी आप में से कहीं भी किसी पार्ट में कंफ्यूजन हो, आप चैट में मेंशन कर देना या पूछ लेना। ठीक है, सोचना नहीं कि बाद में पूछ लूंगा या कंफ्यूजन होगी, आप पूछ लेना। ठीक है। और पार्ट सी इज रिलेटेड टू एनर्जी। काइनेटिक एनर्जी ऑफ द बॉल इज 4.5 joules before collision and 0.2 joules after collision. Calculate the change in total kinetic energy. ओके। अच्छा, एक, हाँ, एक कंफ्यूजन और होगी इस क्वेश्चन में, इस वाले पार्ट में। ठीक है। अच्छा, मीटर पर सेकंड इसलिए क्योंकि स्पीड का ऐसा यूनिट मीटर पर सेकंड है। एक इसमें हमने जो प्रॉब्लम की है इस क्वेश्चन में वो ये, हाँ, ms-1 और m/s दोनों सेम है। ठीक है, आप इसे ऐसे लिखो या ऐसे। अच्छा हाँ, एक चीज और जो हमने इसमें मिस की है, ठीक है, अब्दुल्ला ने वो मेंशन की है चैट में, कि हमने इसमें डायरेक्शन को फॉलो नहीं किया। ठीक है, because the ball actually bounced back, so due to the bounce back the direction of the ball changes. So when the direction of the ball changes, so definitely we have to take the opposite sign. ठीक है, ये वो नॉर्मल सॉल्यूशन है जो सब करके हमने सिंपल 0.56 कैलकुलेट किया। लेकिन इसमें जो एक चीज मिस की है वो ये कि इनिशियली बॉल इज मूविंग इन फॉरवर्ड डायरेक्शन। So let's suppose if we are taking this speed as positive, and when the ball bounce back, so it will move in backward direction. So this time speed has to be taken as negative. जिस तरह हम नॉर्मल इम्पल्स के केस में कर रहे थे कि फॉरवर्ड पॉजिटिव है तो बैकवर्ड नेगेटिव कर ली, तो यहाँ पर भी हमें ये चीज फॉलो करनी है दैट बैकवर्ड स्पीड विल बी नेगेटिव ड्यू टू ऑपोजिट डायरेक्शन। ठीक है, तो ये साइन जो होगा इस वेलोसिटी के साथ वो हम नेगेटिव यूज करेंगे, बिकॉज फर्स्ट स्पीड ऑफ द बॉडी इज पॉजिटिव। हमने इसे पॉजिटिव लिया फॉरवर्ड डायरेक्शन। सेकेंड डायरेक्शन विल बी नेगेटिव because it is completely opposite to the first one. So this sign will be positive and your final answer will be equals to 0.88. ठीक है। अच्छा, ये भी अच्छा है कि कोई एक आप मार्किंग स्कीम देखते रहो ताकि जो कंफ्यूजन हो वो क्लियर हो जाए। तो सिर्फ
Wait,
इस
sir, can you re-explain? Sorry.
okay. Okay, basically, whenever we are solving the question related to momentum, so we know momentum is a vector quantity. So, in the case of impulse, we practice some questions related to bouncing back of the body. So, when ball bounce back or any body with that change direction in the case of momentum, so we have to also use the opposite sign with the velocity, because velocity is a vector quantity. So, definitely there will be a change in direction of velocity also. So, in this case, first ball moves in forward direction towards the object, then it hits the object and bounce back as mentioned in the question. So when it bounce back, so definitely the direction of the ball changes. So we have to use the first velocity. If you are using first velocity as positive, because that is the forward direction, so definitely when it bounce back, so direction will be completely opposite as compared to the first one. So you also need to change the sign for the velocity because now it is moving in opposite direction. So in that case, we have to use minus sign over here. And this minus sign shows you the opposite direction that ball is bouncing back. So this is the case for this
Ah,
question.
okay.
Yes. Otherwise, all working is fine. But the only thing that we missed is the opposite sign. Okay. And what about this part C? You have to calculate change in total kinetic energy. कैलकुलेट कर रहे हो आप खुद से? So basically the kinetic energy of the ball is given before and after collision. So before it is 4.5, after collision is 0.2, and you have to calculate the change in total kinetic energy of the ball. So, how to calculate the total change in the kinetic energy of the ball? So basically, you know that after collision, we have another body that is the object. So we also need to consider that object because in question they are asking about total kinetic energy of the ball. Because when ball hits the object, so definitely there will be some change of energy takes place. So definitely kinetic energy also will be different. So initially the kinetic energy of the object is zero, we know. So if we talk about final kinetic energy for object, so the final kinetic energy of the object can be calculated by using formula half mv square. So the mass of the object is 1.8 and the speed is 0.88. So the final kinetic energy of the object is equals to half mv square, 1.8, 0.88 square. Yes. So if we calculate the final kinetic energy of the object, so that is equals to 0.69 or round off 0.7. So this is the final kinetic energy of the object, right? So the initial kinetic energy of the ball is 4.5. Again आपने क्या करना है, same law of conservation of momentum के concept की तरह यहाँ पर use करना है. First, you have to mention total kinetic energy before collision is equals to the total kinetic energy after collision. So initially only ball is moving. So initially we only have the kinetic energy of the ball because object is at rest. So zero kinetic energy of the object before collision. Okay. So initially we total have 4.5 minus 0.2 is the kinetic energy of the ball after collision, plus we also need to add the kinetic energy of the object, that is 0.7.
So
So
why
this,
exactly are you adding the kinetic energy of the object?
because we know that we are not able to create energy, right? So energy can neither be created nor it can be destroyed. So in question, they only mentions about the ball, that this energy is only for the ball, it is not for the object, right? And they are asking calculate the change in total kinetic energy of the ball and object during the collision. So we know about the energy of the ball, but we don't know about the energy of the object. So first we have to calculate the energy of the object also, right? So this energy is before collision and this energy is after collision. And since they are asking about the change, so change means you have to subtract them. So total energy before minus total energy after, so that will give you the final answer. And we are adding 0.2 plus 0.7 because 0.2 is the after collision energy of ball. 0.7 is the after energy of the object or after collision energy of the object, right? So you have to use the same idea just like the momentum. Total energy before, total energy final. Okay, any confusion? अच्छा ये जो 0.56 और 0.88 आंसर में कंफ्यूजन है, वो अभी मैंने एक्सप्लेन वो किया था कि उसमें डायरेक्शन चेंज का आइडिया है। बॉल इनिशियली फॉरवर्ड मूव कर रही थी, तो लेट्स सपोज उस डायरेक्शन को हम कंसिडर करते हैं एज फॉरवर्ड डायरेक्शन। और जब बॉल बाउंस बैक करेगी, तो आफ्टर कोलिजन बॉल विल बाउंस बैक एंड दैट विल बी the opposite direction. So due to opposite direction, we have to use minus sign. ओके, तो जब वो माइनस साइन हमने कैलकुलेशन में यूज किया यहाँ पर 1.5 के साथ, बिकॉज 1.5 इज द स्पीड आफ्टर कोलिजन, तो ऑटोमेटिक आपके पास ये माइनस दूसरे एंड पर जाकर प्लस हो जाएगा और टोटल कैलकुलेशन का भी आंसर चेंज हो जाएगा। ओके, क्लियर है इस क्वेश्चन में? किसी को कोई कंफ्यूजन?
Sure, can you go back down for a second? Let me just see the answer.
इसका फाइनल आंसर भी आप कैलकुलेट कर लेना। 4.5 माइनस 0.9।
All right, so clear. $3.6.
ठीक है, और मार्किंग स्कीम में और करके 3.8 भी गिवन है, क्योंकि जो राउंड ऑफ नहीं करना चाह रहा 0.69 के साथ यूज कर रहा है या 0.6 के साथ यूज कर रहा है, तो वो आंसर भी एक्सेप्टेबल है। क्योंकि इसमें इंपॉर्टेंट कॉन्सेप्ट है, क्योंकि ये जो माइनस सब्ट्रैक्ट करने का कॉन्सेप्ट है, दिस इज इंपॉर्टेंट। कैलकुलेशन इज सिंपल, वी नो दैट फॉर्मूला इज वेरी सिंपल। टू फाइंड आउट द चेंज वी ओनली नीड टू सब्ट्रैक्ट। तो अगर कोई यहाँ पे राउंड ऑफ करके 0.7 यूज नहीं करता तो भी कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। अगर 3.6 और 3.8 के मिड में भी कोई आंसर है तो सो दैट इज ऑल्सो ओके। So this is the first question related to the journal physics section. Okay. And this is the second question. So first part is related to elastic collision. Figure 2.1 is a graph that shows how the extension of a spring varies with load suspended from it. So in the first part, you have to calculate the spring constant. ठीक है, फॉर्मूला याद है आपको हुक्स लॉ का? So the formula for the Hooke's law is F equals to Kx. F represents the force, K represents spring constant, X represents extension. And this is only applicable within elastic limit, 3.5 Newton per second per centimeter. Okay. So this formula is only applicable within the elastic limit. That means the straight line in the graph, right? So you both will get same answer, 3.5 Newton per centimeter, because graph is given in centimeter. It is not compulsory for a spring mass system also, like in this elastic collision. Sorry, in extension or Hooke's law questions, it is also not compulsory to always convert centimeter into meter, right? If they ask to write in meters, so then you have to convert. Otherwise, there are both possibilities. You can solve in Newton per centimeter, or you can also solve for Newton per meter. So according to formula, we have to find out the value of K. K is equals to F over X. और SI यूनिट के लिए मैंने आपको बताया कि अगर नहीं भी याद सो क्वांटिटीज को यूज कर लो आप। ठीक है, लाइक द वैल्यू ऑफ द फोर्स इज 14, तो इट इज 14 न्यूटन। divided by 4 centimeter. So when you divide 14 by 4, so definitely you will get answer 3.5. And you can also use their units to write your final SI unit of the quantity. So it will be equals to 3.5 Newton per centimeter. ठीक है, वरना क्वांटिटीज देख के आइडिया तो हो जाता है कि इसका यूनिट यही होगा। जिसने एक दो बार भी पढ़ा है अगर यूनिट, तो उसे ये आइडिया हो जाता है that it will be the final SI unit of the quantity.
So why is the question for 3 marks?
Because in this question you have to use the right formula, and secondly 1 mark for your final answer with unit, because unit is important. And for the 3rd mark actually, because most of the maybe use some different points according to the graphical representation, because line is straight further in the graph till this point. So basically, if you are using correct values given in the question, or you are using right formula and writing the right SI unit, so 3 marks according to the marking scheme you will be awarded, because there is only 2 values given in the graph, so there is also not a chance to use any other value. So 1 mark for your unit, 1 mark for using correct value and the correct formula. Because sometimes they like just give you mark easily for simple question also, but sometimes they are giving single mark for some difficult questions also. तो अगर कहीं मार्किंग स्कीम में कहीं ऐसा होगा तो वो मैं आपको एक्सप्लेन कर दूंगा कि यहाँ पे मार्किंग इस तरह से हुई है, लेकिन इसमें कोई इस तरह स्ट्रिक्ट मार्किंग नहीं है 3 मार्क्स की। और यूनिट कन्वर्जन भी एडिशनल है, और के साथ दोनों आंसर मेंशन है, तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। In second part on figure 2.1 you have to mark limit of proportionality and label this point with capital L. So limit of proportionality, अच्छा लिमिट ऑफ प्रोपोर्शनैलिटी आपको पता है, जहाँ आपका लास्ट स्ट्रेट लाइन आपको मिल रही है, सो दैट विल बी द लिमिट ऑफ प्रोपोर्शनैलिटी और द इलास्टिक लिमिट। उसके बाद वो कर्व होना स्टार्ट हो जाता है, तो वो तो आप रूलर रख के भी चेक कर सकते हो कि जहाँ तक स्ट्रेट लाइन आपको नजर आती है वहाँ पे आप पॉइंट मार्क करके कैपिटल L मेंशन कर देना। ठीक है, आप रूलर रखो, रूलर से आपको क्लियर आइडिया हो जाएगा। ठीक है, थोड़ा सा पीछे भी हो तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, लेकिन जब फिजिकल पेपर होता है सो दैट विल बी इजी टू मार्क, ऑन स्क्रीन समटाइम इट विल बी डिफरेंट। Part B shows a car traveling at constant speed around corner A on a road. So this is important, traveling at constant speed, corner A. On figure 2.2, mark an arrow, with an arrow the direction of the resultant force acting on the car as it travels around corner A. So you have to mark the direction with the help of arrow. So what will be the direction of the resultant force? और अगर आपको हिंट मिल गया हो कि ये किस टॉपिक से रिलेटेड है, तो आप इजीली आंसर भी मार्क कर सकते हो। राइट, तो बेसिकली ये यूनिफॉर्म सर्कुलर मोशन का क्वेश्चन है। ठीक है, टुवर्ड्स द सेंटर ऑफ द सर्कल, राइट, क्योंकि यहाँ पे कर्व और कांस्टेंट स्पीड को हाईलाइट करने का रीजन ये था, दिस इज रिलेटेड टू यूनिफॉर्म सर्कुलर मोशन, एंड इन यूनिफॉर्म सर्कुलर मोशन यस स्ट्रेट होगी और टुवर्ड्स द सेंटर ऑफ द सर्कल भी होगी। ठीक है, मतलब आप इसमें लेफ्ट डायरेक्शन पे शो करना, इसके अलावा यहाँ पर अगर कहीं पर मार्क किया तो वो रॉन्ग हो जाएगा। ठीक है, तो विद इन द कॉर्नर ऑन द लेफ्ट साइड अगर सर्कल हो, ठीक है, तो वो आपको करेक्ट मार्क उसका मिल जाएगा। और स्ट्रेट होनी चाहिए, उसमें कोई कर्व लाइन या इस तरह इरेगुलर पैटर्न भी ड्रॉ नहीं करना, वरना उसमें भी फिर मार्क्स डिडक्ट हो जाएंगे। डायरेक्शन अगर सही हुई लेकिन आपकी लाइन क्योंकि स्ट्रेट नहीं हुई तो उसके भी मार्क्स डिडक्ट हो जाएंगे, क्योंकि
Wait,
इसके
sir, is my answer correct?
यस, क्योंकि इसमें 2 मार्क्स आपको 2 मार्क्स इसलिए मिल रहे हैं, वन फॉर द स्ट्रेट लाइन or the second, that same idea for the circular motion towards the center. So arrow must be towards the left hand side, not any direction on right hand side. ठीक है, क्योंकि आपके पास तो फ्री 4 साइड्स ओपन है, आप कहीं भी मार्क कर सकते हो, लेकिन जिसने पढ़ा होगा सर्कुलर मोशन, so then you are able to identify it will be towards the center of the circle. एक्चुअली इसमें जब कांस्टेंट स्पीड होती है, so we know that at constant speed acceleration is equals to 0. सो अगर आप बात करोगे नॉर्मल फोर्सेस की, लाइक फॉरवर्ड इंजन फोर्स, बैकवर्ड फ्रिक्शनल फोर्स, so that will be equals to 0 because body is moving with constant speed, so all forces are equal and opposite. So when all forces are equal and opposite, so there will be no chance to get resultant force at this point or at this point. So then you have to use the concept of the circular motion, that if car or any body is moving around a curved path, so definitely resultant force will always act towards the center of the circle, right? Because due to change in direction, acceleration produces. So this is the only idea. And in the last part, I already got one answer, that resultant force increases. Question is, corner B has a smaller radius than corner A. The car travels at the same speed around the corner. So state how the resultant force changes due to the car traveling around a corner of a small radius. ठीक है, so it will be increases. Okay, so basically in the last part, we state the answer that resultant force is increasing. Why it is actually increases? So if you remember in your syllabus also, it is mentioned that you don't need to use the formula for circular motion in your exam. That formula only helps you to just memorize the concept that if we increase the radius, so what happens with the resultant force? If the mass increases, so what happens? Okay, yes, I got that message for timing about the chemistry class. So let me check that what we will do on that day. So we will also discuss that. Okay. So according to the concept, this is the formula for centripetal force. But in your syllabus, it is mentioned that you don't need to use this formula for calculation. It is not included in exam. But this formula will help you to remember the idea about the change of radius. So what will be the effect on the resultant force? So this is the formula for centripetal force. And according to this centripetal force is the actual resultant force that is towards the center. So you can see radius is inversely proportional to the resultant force or the centripetal force. So in question it is mentioned corner B has a small radius. So radius decreases. So definitely the final resultant force will be increases. So that's why your answer is increases. Okay. ठीक है, कोई confusion is question में? Okay, so the next question. Okay, next question is also very simple. It is related to density. The first part is, by the way, these three questions are from the same paper of October, November, paper 4, I think, variant 3. So you got three questions from the same section, journal physics. So the density of the oil is given and it is poured gently onto the surface of water of density 1 gram per centimeter cube, and the oil and the water do not mix. Describe and explain the final position of the oil relative to the water. Description and explanation. Definitely, we know that if they are not like mixed with each other, so definitely one liquid will be on the top and second will be in the bottom. So you have to describe the final position and then you have to explain why. So which liquid is going to be float on the top and which liquid will be at the bottom. So basically, oil is actually poured gently onto the surface of water. So first of all, we have water in container, let's suppose, and then we pour oil on the top of the water. And it is mentioned oil and water do not mix. तो आपने water के ऊपर oil को जो है वो fill किया. So now what will be the final position? Oil will be on the top or water will be on the top. Or फिर you have to also mention the explanation. सबसे पहले तो आप ये बताओ टॉप पर कौन होगा. Oil on the top. Okay, as
Oil.
less denser oil. ठीक है. अच्छा, आपको आंसर क्वेश्चन का जैसे ही पता हो आप भले चैट में लिख दो या आप ऑडियो कर लो, कोई इशू नहीं है, ताकि ये होगा हम जल्दी जल्दी इसको सॉल्व करके नेक्स्ट पर चले जाएंगे. तो बेसिकली फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल यू नीड टू डिस्क्राइब. ऑयल फ्लोट्स ऑन द वाटर. अच्छा, कुछ स्टूडेंट्स शायद इसका रीजन ये भी लिखते हैं कि ऑयल को हमने बाद में पोर किया तो वो टॉप पे रहेगा. ठीक है, लेकिन कॉन्सेप्ट वाइज ऑयल ऑफ डेंसिटी ऑफ द ऑयल इज less as compared to the density of water, right? Okay, part B. An irregularly shaped solid object has a density of 2.7 grams per centimeter cube. Shape is irregular and also solid. So describe a method to measure the volume of the irregularly shaped solid object. Method याद होगा आपको. अच्छा, this part is actually like repeated concept in the past paper, right? Not exact repeated question, but this concept is like mostly asked in previous past papers also. So this is like a repeated concept. Okay, so fill a measuring cylinder with water and measure the initial volume of the water, then add the solid object and measure the new volume. The difference between the initial and the final is the volume of the object, right? So basically you all know about the method actually. So I just copy paste one of your response because you all know about the method. Maybe you are typing your answer. अच्छा, ये आपने जो सेकंड अभी मैसेज किया, मेजर द मास यूजिंग अ बैलेंस, डिवाइड द मास बाय द डेंसिटी. ठीक है. अच्छा, इन्होंने सिर्फ वॉल्यूम का पूछा है. ठीक है, मेजर द वॉल्यूम. अब यहाँ पर you have to mention the proper procedure, right? Because in next part you can see they are asking about the calculate the mass. If mass is already given, so they will give you hint in the question that mass is already measured or mass is given, something like that. But if it is not mentioned in the question, so you have to use other concept to explain this idea, that how you are going to find out the volume. Okay. So this is the method that we discussed. We add some water in the cylinder, then place that object in it, and we measure initial and final volume, and then we find out the difference. So that rise in the water of the height of water in the cylinder will give you the actual volume of that object, right? Again, अगर किसी को किसी concept पे confusion हो, so you may ask it again. लेकिन यहाँ तक ऐसा है नहीं कुछ प्रॉब्लम कि जो आपको क्लियर ना हो.
Wait, so what's the density?
क्वेश्चन इज समटाइम्स गिवन. ओके. सो जब क्वेश्चन 4 मार्क का होता है ना, तो उसमें फिर वो आपसे दे विल आल्सो आस्क अबाउट द मास, दैट हाउ यू नीड टू मेंशन दैट हाउ टू मेजर द मास. सो इन दैट क्वेश्चन दे विल आस्क अबाउट हाउ टू फाइंड आउट द फाइनल डेंसिटी ऑफ इर्रेगुलर ऑब्जेक्ट. तो जब वो आपसे डिटेल पूछेगा, सो देन दे विल आस्क अबाउट द 4 मार्क. और इन ओल्ड पेपर्स दे आर आस्किंग अबाउट द सेम क्वेश्चन फॉर 3 or 4 मार्क्स ऑल्सो, right? So sometimes in old paper it happens. हाँ. तो उसमें मार्क्स के लिए कंफ्यूज होने की आपको जरूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि अब थोड़ा सा सिलेबस चेंज किया, पैटर्न चेंज किया. सो नाउ दे आर गिविंग लेस मार्क फॉर द ओल्ड कॉन्सेप्ट. दे आर making like gap for the new questions. And in the final part, the volume is given and you have to calculate the mass. So that is also simple, to use the formula for the density. So volume of the object. So density is given for the object 2.7. Volume is 83, multiply, and you already mentioned your answers. 224 grams. Okay. We will start ATP after completing this theory practice session, like after first 224. Okay, after first you will get 10 days, like almost 9 to 10 days to practice the concepts on the paper by yourself also. And in that time we will also start ATP, right? अच्छा अब्दुल्ला, अगर आप केजी में कन्वर्ट करना चाह रहे हो, सो देन यू आल्सो नीड टू कन्वर्ट वॉल्यूम इनटू मीटर क्यूब, राइट? So if you are not converting the SI units, so it will be like you can see gram per centimeter cube. So this will be grams, right? तो हमने पूरे क्वेश्चन में कहीं यूनिट को कन्वर्ट नहीं किया, क्योंकि उन्होंने भी सब जगह पर ग्राम्स और सेंटीमीटर क्यूब यूज किया है. अच्छा, कन्वर्ट कब करना कंपलसरी होता है? समटाइम्स दे आल्सो यूज टू लाइक वॉल्यूम इज गिवन इन मीटर क्यूब but mass is given in grams, so then you have to convert into kg. अगर उन्होंने कोई एक ऐसा यूनिट मेंशन किया हो जैसे सेंटीमीटर क्यूब की जगह मीटर क्यूब होता, so then you also need to convert into kg, right? क्योंकि उन्होंने सेकंड यूनिट एसआई यूज किया है, तो आप भी उसको एसआई में ही फाइनल आंसर लिखो, ठीक है? बट इन दिस होल क्वेश्चन यू कैन सी ग्राम सेंटीमीटर क्यूब इज गिवन, so it's okay to calculate in gram per centimeter cube also. Okay, next question is related to the forces. So a balloon of mass 15 grams, mass is given, and it is glued to a straw, as you can see in the diagram, and a straw is threaded onto a horizontal string as we can see in the diagram. The balloon is filled with air and then the air is released. So definitely balloon will move in forward direction just like a boat or a rocket. So as the air leaves the balloon experiences a force, the balloon accelerates from the rest until it reaches a constant speed. It then travels 0.6 meter in 0.18 seconds. ठीक है, एक सिंपल सा सेटअप है, जस्ट लाइक रॉकेट टाइप एक सेटअप है कि एयर जो है वो बैक पुश करेगी और बलून विल मूव इन फॉरवर्ड डायरेक्शन एंड it travels 0.67 meter in 0.18 seconds at this constant speed, right? So balloon travels 0.6 meter in 0.18 seconds at constant speed before it speed is changing. So explain it in words what is meant by the term impulse. So you have to define the term impulse. So what is the definition of the impulse? Force into time. The force has been acting upon the object, amount of a time of force acts on the object, ठीक है? So different phrases होते हैं, आप different तरह से phrase कर सकते हो. Product of force and time, ठीक है? ठीक है, formula तो सबको याद है, so definitely all of you know that how to define impulse, and all the answers that you mention in the chat is acceptable, right? So there will be no problem in that. ठीक है, आप सबके आंसर सही है, इसलिए शॉर्ट मैंने बस रेफरेंस लिख दिया फॉर्मूला का, क्योंकि आप सबकी स्टेटमेंट सही है, आप अपनी अपनी अकॉर्डिंगली उसको फ्रेज कर सकते हो, नो इशू. Calculate the resultant impulse on the balloon while it is accelerating. So you have to calculate the resultant impulse. You know the formula, all the quantities are, yes, so these are the quantities, mass is given in grams and distance is given, time is given. And yes, all these quantities are given in the question. So now you have to calculate the resultant impulse, and you know there are different ways to represent impulse. The basic formula we used to write, Ft, we can also use to write that it is equals to change in momentum. Then we will also write mv minus u also. So you know that there are different ways to write the formula. So now you may try by yourself to find out the resultant impulse, then we will discuss. Any okay, any idea to how to solve this part? Okay, basically we know mass distance, time. These three quantities are given. And according to the formula, we know that like there is something missing, that we are not able to exactly fit the quantities in the formula to get answer directly. So what we do, we have to use the concept of impulse, like impulse is equals to change in momentum, right? Impulse is equals to change in momentum. And since we are talking about only one body, right, and there is no initial final concept is given, so that will be equals to m into v, right? And velocity is not given because we know velocity is constant. It is mentioned velocity is constant. Okay, 0.056, right? Your answer is right. So what we have to do actually, on the place of velocity, we have to use the basic idea of velocity. Velocity is equals to distance upon time. So now it is easy to find out the impulse. Mass is 15 grams, so you have to convert into kg. So 0.015 mass in kg multiply by distance is 0.67 divided by time. Time is 0.18 seconds. So in this way, you will get your answer 0.056 Newton second, because force into time means Newton into second. So this is your final answer. Okay. So basically, they just shuffle the values in this way that you are not able to find out the quantity by using direct formula. So you have to make some calculations to find out this answer. And in the final part, they are asking, explain how momentum is conserved as the balloon accelerates. So you know the concept of the conservation of momentum, that momentum before and after momentum remains the same. So that is called conservation of momentum. So now you have to explain that idea. And this is the whole scenario that is given in your question. And from this scenario, you have to drive this idea that how your momentum is conserved throughout the whole process. So basically what is happening, air is like releasing from the balloon. What this is, okay. So basically momentum conserved means we know the formula of momentum is mass into velocity. And mostly we got the examples of the collisions, like one body is colliding with the other. So one body is moving with some mass and velocity, and then it collides with the second. So that is easy example because we know, just like the game of in a snooker, we always use this example. We know that white ball is moving with greater speed. But when white ball strikes with an other ball, so the speed of the white ball decreases because it transfers some energy to the other ball. So due to the transfer of energy, the speed of the white ball decreases and the velocity or the speed of the second ball will automatically increase. So initially, white ball is only moving. White ball has its mass, its velocity, so that is momentum. And when it collides with the other ball, so second ball already have mass but zero velocity or speed. So when it gains some energy, so it also starts to move. So when you find out the total concept of the momentum, let's suppose if two peoples are going together and they have like total 2000, right? Total 2000 rupees or whatever the currency. And also when they get the bill, so let's suppose one person have only 500, second one have 1500. So you know that their amount are not equal. But if we talk about the total bill and the total amount, so that is same 2000, 2000. Okay. So in the same case, when energy is transferred to the other body, so the second ball also starts to move. So now your momentum actually interchange, right? So that's why we call the concept of the conserve, because in conserve में होता ये, हम ओवरऑल बात करते हैं, इंडिविजुअल नहीं. ठीक है. अब जिस तरह इंडिविजुअल बिल की अगर हम बात करते हैं तो दोनों ने इक्वली कंट्रीब्यूट नहीं किया, बट आपका टोटल बिल जो था वो पे हो चुका. सेम फॉर द बॉल, that white ball has greater momentum initially but now after collision, अगर आप कंपेयर करो तो अब white ball का मोमेंटम चेंज हो चुका है. ठीक है. क्योंकि उसने कुछ एनर्जी आगे भी ट्रांसफर की, उसका मोमेंटम इंक्रीज हो गया, पहले वो जीरो था. So that's why we use the concept of conservation. Conservation means overall हम उसमें identify करते हैं individually. So basically in this case, the air starts to release from the balloon in backward direction and balloon starts to move in forward direction, right? So basically air starts to release from the balloon and it is moving in the opposite direction to the direction of the balloon, right? So basically the momentum of the balloon that is moving in forward direction will be equal to the momentum of the air, because definitely there will be some mass of the particle of air, and definitely when they are releasing from the balloon, so they starts to move with some speed. Okay. तो नॉर्मली हम कोलिजन्स में क्या देखते हैं, दैट बोथ ऑब्जेक्ट्स आर मूविंग टुवर्ड्स ईच अदर, बट आफ्टर कोलिजन दे स्टार्ट्स टू मूव इन ऑपोजिट डायरेक्शन. सो सेम केस यहाँ पर भी है. Air molecules are moving in backward direction, but balloon is moving in forward direction. So we conclude like this, that the amount of momentum for air that is moving in backward direction is exactly equal to the amount of the momentum of the balloon that is moving in forward direction. So in this sense, the momentum before collision and after, sorry, the momentum of the air and the momentum of the balloon, so the total momentum is conserved. Okay. Because initially they are like a single body, air in the balloon, so that is single body. But now when air is releasing, so we consider them as two different like systems, right? तो पहले वो कंबाइंड सिस्टम थे, अब क्योंकि एक्सेलरेशन हो रही है वहां पर बिकॉज एयर इज रिलीजिंग, सो अब वो थोड़ा सा डिफरेंट सिस्टम होते जा रहे हैं. लेकिन उनका अगर हम टोटल मोमेंटम चेक करें फाइनल, तो वो सेम रहेगा, कंजर्व. इनिशियली लेट सपोज देयर मोमेंटम इज 10, तो अब 5, 5, 3, 7, 6, 4 इस तरह से डिवाइड हो जाएगा, लेकिन सेम रहेगा ओवरऑल. ठीक है. अब क्योंकि वैल्यूज से हम एक्सप्लेन नहीं कर सकते तो वो लिखने की भी जरूरत नहीं होती आपको. आप सिंपल जर्नल आइडिया एक्सप्लेन कर दोगे, दैट द मोमेंटम ऑफ द बलून is equal in size to the momentum of air that is moving in the opposite direction to the balloon. Okay, any confusion? 1 mark for equal size, 1 mark for mentioning the opposite direction of both air and the balloon. Okay, part C. In part C, figure shows the direction of the two forces acting on a different balloon as it moves. So when balloon is moving, so there are two different forces acting on a body. So the first force is acting in forward direction, 0.40 Newton. And another force is acting in downward direction, 0.74 Newton. So you have to find out the magnitude and direction of the resultant force on the balloon. And this is also the repeated concept in the past papers. And we know that in new concept, they only ask about 90-degree questions. You can see there is complete 90-degree angle between two forces. So यहाँ पर आपने resultant calculate करना है. And you know that how to calculate the magnitude and the direction. They are asking about two parts, magnitude and direction. Basically, in this question, if they ask especially to draw the diagram, right? So then you have to draw the diagram. Otherwise, you can use the formula, right? In marking scheme also, you will get both answers in both forms. But in old papers, because they have different angles in the old papers, so they will ask about especially to draw by using the diagram method. So they also give you marks for that. But now if they mention to draw in the diagram form, so then you have to draw, otherwise it's your choice. So first of all, we find out the magnitude by using Pythagoras theorem. Very simple because there will be right angle triangle. Okay, magnitude 0.84, right? So we use the concept of Pythagoras theorem. Okay, so basically, we will use this method. We know this is, let's suppose this side is perpendicular. This is the base. This is the hypotenuse. So we know perpendicular is given, base is given. So according to this idea, we can use the Pythagoras theorem. H square is equals to B square plus B square. So H, that is the resultant side, which is unknown. This is the resultant side, resultant force. This is unknown. So actually H is not given. P is given 0.74. Base is given 0.40. So you have to just find out the square of both quantities and then you have to add them. And finally, you have to find out the under root of it. So this is the formula to find out the magnitude, and definitely you will get the same answer 0.84 as we got in the chat also. And we also got one answer of angle that is 45 degree due south. Okay, we will also check that. So 0.84 is the magnitude, and for the angle,
So how do you find the angle?
yes. Now, because you are not using the diagram method, right? So definitely we are not going to get the angle in the diagram. So we have to use the formula. So in the formula, we have trigonometric concept. If somebody is like studied in math about sine theta, cos theta, tan theta. So there is a formula for tan theta to find out the angle between two forces when they are perpendicular to each other. So we are using Pythagoras theorem for perpendicular case. So definitely this tan theta will also help you to find out the angle. And the formula is very simple. You can see the vertical side is 0.74, horizontal side is 0.40. So tan theta is actually equals to force acting on y and divided by force or any vector quantity on x. So you have to divide them and then you have to find out the tan inverse. Like tan theta is equals to 0.74 divided by 0.40. Okay. So when we divide these two quantities, 0.74 divided by 0.40, so you will get 1.85. Okay, we will check that angle also. Now when we shift this 10 on the other side, so we know that on the other side, we have to use the tan inverse. Actually, this is the formula that is already derived in trigonometric identity, right? So basically, it is derived from the trigonometric idea. There is also a proof of it, but we are not going to discuss that because that is a detailed concept and that is not compulsory for this also. So this is already like a derived formula. Okay. So you don't need to worry about the proof and why it is equals to y over x, not x over y. So that is a different thing, right? I will share that proof in the group just for your knowledge, but it is not compulsory that to understand why we are using fy over fx, why not fx over fy? Okay, because that is already derived in trigonometric ratios. Now you have to find out the tan inverse because this tan will be shift on the other side. In your calculator, to find out this, you have to first press shift 10, then just write down the value. So you will get answer 61.6.
61.6.
Yes, that will be round of 62. So for your calculator, I am writing the command if somebody uh, don't know about it. Shift then 10. So in scientific calculator, you will get these two buttons in your calculator. So first press shift, then 10, you will automatically get 10 inverse in your calculator. So final answer 62, 0.84 for the magnitude. And definitely, one more thing you have to mention in your answer, your resultant will be like in the middle, right? Over here. Because let's suppose if two forces are pulling any object in different direction, like in perpendicular, so definitely that will move in between these two perpendicular forces, right? And we also know that north, south, east, west is also not given. So sometimes it will be difficult for the student, like if somebody don't know where is north, where is south, because that is not important part of syllabus. You don't need to learn that all scenario. So you can also write your answer as mentioned in the marking scheme also. That's 62 degrees. Below the horizontal, because balloon is attached with the straw and the straw is connected with the string. So that's why balloon is not moving in that direction. But if you just release that balloon freely without any string, without any straw, so definitely balloon will move in this direction, right? 62 degrees below the horizontal. Okay. Uh, a car accelerates uniformly in a straight line from rest. So car is accelerating and in a straight line from rest. And at 3.2 seconds, the speed of the car is 13 meter per second. And we have to calculate acceleration. What is the acceleration of the car? So question is simple. You have to calculate acceleration, and we know acceleration is equals to change in velocity over time. So velocity is given, like average speed is given. So that is 13. Time is given from 0 to 3.2. So definitely the difference of the time is also 3.2. So 13 divided by 3.2, you will get your answer
4.1.
4.1. Okay. Meter per second square. And explain in words what is meant by the term acceleration. So that is the definition of acceleration. Rate of change of velocity. B part, the car travels at 13 meter per second from 3.2 to time 12 seconds. Plot the speed time graph for the car from time 0 to time 12 seconds. Okay, so now we have to plot the graph, and from the first question, we got information that initially car is accelerating uniformly from time t is equals to 0 to time t is equals to 3.2 seconds. And at that time, speed of the car is 13 meter per second. So now you have to draw a speed time graph, right? So initially, uh, the body reaches the speed of 13 and time is 3.2. So first of all, you have to find out the time 3.2, where the time 3.2 is. So this is 2, and there are 5 boxes. So this is 3.2, right? Because we have 5 boxes, and these 5 boxes is divided into the difference of 2 seconds. So you will get answer 2.5. So one small box is equals to like 1/4 part. So 2, 2.4, 2.8, 3.2, 3.6, 4. So this is 3.2. Time is 13, 10, and now we have difference of 2 again. So 10, 10.4, 10.8, sorry, 12, 12.4, 12.8, and in between you will get 13. Because if we count the box, so this will be 12.4, 12.8, and next one will be 13.2. So in between you will get mark 13. So now you have to match the point. So this is the point for the first motion of the body from 0 to 3.2, because initially car is moving from time 0 to 3.2 at constant speed. Sorry, accelerates uniformly in a straight line. So when body accelerates uniformly, so what will be the graphical representation of speed time graph? So speed time graph में हमें कैसे represent करना होगा line को for uniform acceleration? Horizontal line, vertical line, or constant gradient line, curved line? ठीक है, जीरो से क्योंकि यूनिफॉर्मली एक्सेलरेट कर रहा है, यूनिफॉर्मली एक्सेलरेट करने का मतलब है कांस्टेंट चेंज आ रहा है स्पीड में और विद रिस्पेक्ट टू टाइम। सेकंड पार्ट में कार ने मूव किया फ्रॉम 3.2 सेकेंड्स टू 12 सेकेंड्स और स्पीड है 13 मीटर पर सेकेंड। सो इसी 13 मीटर पर सेकेंड को कंटिन्यू करके वी हैव टू मूव टिल टाइम 12। So this is 12 seconds and now car is traveling at the same speed 13. So there will be a horizontal line for constant speed. So this is the graphical representation for the car from 0 till the time 12 seconds. And in the next part, you have to calculate the distance traveled by the car between time 0 to again time 3.2 seconds. So how to find out the distance from 0 to 3.2?
Area under the graph.
Area under the graph. So that is also simple. Shape triangle use करना है हमने right angle, because सिर्फ उन्होंने 3.2 तक use करने को कहा है. So the base is equals to 3.2, height is equals to 13. So distance can be find out by using area under the curve. और यहाँ पे triangle shape है. So 3.2 multiplied by 13
20.8 meters.
20.8 और round off हम इसे 21 mention कर देंगे meters. For C, the car decelerates from 13 meter per second to 0 meter per second at constant deceleration. अब जिस तरह से उसने accelerate किया था, so the same way the car decelerates at constant deceleration from 13 to 0. Mass of the car is given and the car travels 13 meter in 2 seconds as it decelerates. Distance, mass, time. So these three quantities are given. Show that the work done by the car and as it decelerates is approximately equals to this value given in joules. So basically you have to show, and you will get 4 marks for this question. So definitely there will be something different in this question. We know that the formula for the work done is W equals to F into D. So first of all, if we just write down the formula for reference, F into D. So you know that D is given, F is not given. So first of all, we have to find out the F. So mass is given. Any idea how to find out the value of F?
F is equal to MA.
Okay. So if we use F equals to MA, mass is 1350, and the value of acceleration will be equals to, okay,
6.5
yes, I got your
meter per second, correct?
mm, right. Okay, so I got answer from Umair, and you can also use the idea that work done will be equals to your kinetic energy if we use the direct relation of half mv square. So that will also give you answer. Yes. But if you don't want to use any idea or any concept, so you can also use this method, because this is like simple direct approach. But if you are good in using the concepts and the formula, so then you can also use the second method, just like I think you all got in the chat. Yes. So you can also use that method, because eventually you will get the same idea, because when you are using acceleration in mass times acceleration concept. So if you substitute this value in the force, so definitely it will be equals to half mv square. So velocity is 13 to 0. So that will be 13 divided by time is equals to 2 seconds. So you will get the value of the force, and then you have to multiply by the distance covered by the body in the work done. And the answer is equals to 1350 multiplied by 13 divided by 2, 8775 Newton. And finally, into 13, 114075. So you can see if you just use the round off value, so you have to shift decimal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places. So you will get answer 1.1 exponent 5. If you will write answer like this. So when you shift your decimal point, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1.5 in this way. But if you are using scientific calculator, so definitely you will get the exact answer 1.1 exponent 5 in round off. But let's suppose if you are using simple method, so you can shift the decimal to get your value into exponent 5. Okay, on Another day, the car in Parsi travels a longer distance. Okay, so on another day, the car travels a longer distance while it decelerates from. ठीक है, अब उन्होंने कहा सेम कंडीशन, सेम स्पीड की डेसेलरेशन और डेसेलरेशन कांस्टेंट, लेकिन डिस्टेंस उसने ज्यादा कवर किया। अभी 13 था, लेकिन किसी और डे के एक्सपेरिमेंट में उसने डिस्टेंस ज्यादा कवर किया। सो सजेस्ट एंड एक्सप्लेन व्हाट कॉजेज द स्टॉपिंग डिस्टेंस टू इंक्रीज। ठीक है, स्टॉपिंग डिस्टेंस अगर आपको याद हो, सो व्हेन यू आर गोइंग टू अप्लाई द ब्रेक, सो दैट इज कॉल्ड रिएक्शन टाइम, रिएक्शन डिस्टेंस or thinking distance, right? So that is the concept of thinking distance when you are about to apply the brake, when you are thinking. But when you apply brake, so definitely car will take some time to stop. So that is called stopping distance. So on another day that it travels a longer distance. So what is the reason that it travels a longer distance? So what is your suggestion? And then you have to explain that idea also, because there are many different ways to explain that why stopping distance increases. So why stopping distance actually increases? Definitely your answers may vary from each other. ठीक है, अब कोई मे बी सम स्टूडेंट्स ये भी मेंशन कर सकते हैं कि रोड कंडीशन रफ, स्लिपरी होने की वजह से। ठीक है, कुछ इस तरह से भी लिखेंगे कि ड्यू टू रेनी सीजन रोड इज वेट, और कुछ ये भी लिख सकते हैं कि टायर्स की कंडीशन इतनी अच्छी नहीं थी। ठीक है, तो टायर की ग्रिप जो है वो वीक होने की वजह से जो डिस्टेंस था वो लॉन्ग हो गया। तो इसमें कोई एक स्पेसिफिक आंसर नहीं है, डिपेंड करता है कि आप किस फैक्टर के अकॉर्डिंगली उसे एक्सप्लेन करते हो। ठीक है, रोड और सरफेस इज स्लिपरी। So explanation on wet road or on slippery surface, the car like skids on the road, so that's why the stopping distance increases. So this is another question. Okay, now we have some electrical. Okay, so this is related to work, power, and energy. So in question number 5, many methods of generating electrical power involve the use of water. So there are different methods to generate electricity, includes the use of water to generate electricity. So describe one method of generating electricity or electrical power from energy stored in water. So you need to describe any single method of your choice. So which method you are going to write in this answer? तो बेसिकली हमारे पास काफी सारे मेथड्स हैं। हम टरबाइन वाला एग्जांपल मेंशन कर सकते हैं। एक जो हमारी टॉपिकल्स वर्कशीट में फर्स्ट पार्ट था, in which we are using geothermal energy, right? So we are using that geothermal energy that supplies to the water. Water converts into steam that runs the turbine, and that will generate electricity. So that is one method. And the second is that we use in the dam, that water, we drop water from the height and it strikes the turbine due to potential energy or due to change in energy. Gravitational potential energy converts into kinetic, so that helps the turbine to move, and when turbine moves, so that mechanical energy converts into electrical energy, right? So
Yes,
explanation,
sir.
ठीक है, एक्सप्लेनेशन आप इसकी लिख लोगे, और वरना बुक से भी आपको मिल जाएंगी, आप डायरेक्ट एग्जैक्टली भी कॉपी पेस्ट कर सकते हो, ठीक है। तो यहाँ पर आप अपनी कोई भी चॉइस की एक्सप्लेनेशन लिख सकते हो, हमारे नोट्स में उसमें क्वेश्चंस में भी ऑलरेडी मिल जाएंगी आपको टॉपिकल्स वाले में, वरना आप बुक के रेफरेंस से भी कोई भी एक एग्जांपल यूज कर सकते हो। इम्पॉर्टेंट ये है कि आपको वो मेथड पता हो कि ऐसा होता है, अगर नहीं पता फिर वो एक प्रॉब्लम वाली बात होती है कि आपको मेथड नहीं पता, एक्सप्लेन तो आप कर लोगे। So for the method you choose in part A, state one advantage and one disadvantage of generating electricity this way। ठीक है, अब ये completely depend करेगा कि आप क्या method use कर रहे हो। So you have to mention one advantage or one disadvantage। Let's suppose if we are using the concept of, ठीक है, हम जियोथर्मल वाले मेथड को लेते हैं जो हमने क्वेश्चन में भी सॉल्व किया था, कि ग्राउंड के थ्रू वाटर पास होता है और that will convert into the steam, it strikes on the turbine, turbine starts to rotate and it will generate electricity. So what is the advantage of that? So the advantage of that will be that it will like it is not harmful for the environment, right? Because normally we generate electricity by using the combustion process. So एक advantage ये है कि ये आपके पास इन्वायरमेंट को पॉल्यूट नहीं कर रहा, ठीक है, इन्वायरमेंट पे इसका कोई इफेक्ट नहीं आएगा, क्योंकि हम सिर्फ स्टीम में कन्वर्ट कर रहे हैं और वो भी विद इन द सिस्टम है, दैट इज नॉट गोइंग आउट फ्रॉम द सिस्टम, सो इट विल नॉट इफेक्ट द इन्वायरमेंट। एनी डिसएडवांटेज इन योर माइंड?
It's expensive.
Expensive, okay, and that is also like you need a specific setup, and this is also like a limited source also। So method of generating electricity is not harmful for environment। Setup is expensive and great। Part C, state two methods of generating electrical power for which the main source of energy is not the sun। any two sources, any two methods of generating electricity जिसमें sun as a source use आप नहीं करते. Okay, it also depends upon location,
Nuclear and wind.
right? Okay, Hussein, your answer is also right. That it depends upon location for the B part of the answer. That it is not available everywhere, like somewhere where we have cold places. So definitely this setup will not work because your surrounding is already very uh, of very low temperature. Okay, so you mentioned I think tidal, right? And second nuclear. So these are the methods that will not require sun as the main source of energy. Okay. Question number 4. A radio transmitter is a very tall, thin cylinder. It is prevented from falling over by wires which have one end fixed to the transmitter and other in the ground. So the ends of the wires in the ground are a long distance from the transmitter. So figure 4.1 shows the transmitter and the two wires. So you can see this is transmitter and there are two wires and the center of gravity of the object is also mentioned. So the center of gravity G is shown on figure 4.1. So you have to define what is meant by center of gravity.
The point where all of the weight of an object appears to.
Right. So this is the point where the whole mass of the body or the where the whole weight of the body acts. So this point is called center of gravity, right? And explain why the radio transmitter without the wire is very unstable structure. So without
Wait,
the
sir, can you
wire,
go up?
this is the diagram. This is the height of the transmitter also.
The transmitter has a small base.
Right. So the base area of the transmitter is very small and it is easy to tilt the transmitter. And definitely it will produce the turning effect in the transmitter. It will like about to rotate with the reference of the ground. So area of the transmitter. And the B part, wire W is under tension and it exerts a force T on the transmitter. On figure 4.1, mark an arrow to show the force T exerted by the wire W on the transmitter. So wire W, this is wire W. So what will be the direction of the force or the tension force? So we know that it is actually holding the transmitter. So the direction of the tension will be in downward direction, right? Like this, because it is holding that transmitter from one end and the second is also holding like this. So that's why both forces are actually acting in the opposite direction. So they are holding the transmitter in its still position. And that force T produces a moment on the transmitter about its base. So there is a turning effect. If we are only talking about force T, so you have to describe how the moment produced by T is calculated and indicated on figure 4.1. What is meant by any other terms in the description. Okay, so you have to describe how the moment produced by T is calculated and what is meant by any other term. If there are some other term in your formula, so you also need to mention that. I think I have only two lines, so definitely for explanation, we need some more. And I think one part of this question is missing. That's why we have only two lines on this page. Okay, so basically, you know that to find out the moment, we use the formula F into D. I'm writing in the short momentum. Sorry, moment is equals to force into momentum, right? And this D actually represents the perpendicular distance from the pivot point, right? So the value, the alphabet D represents perpendicular distance to the pivot. Okay. So this is another question from the paper. Okay. Question number 3 है हमारे पास. Liquids are difficult to compress, whereas gases can be compressed easily. अच्छा ये part भी repeated concept है. Because in previous papers we already got this type of questions that liquids are difficult to compress as compared to the gases, and you have to explain in terms of the particles. So in terms of the particles, we know that the particles of liquid are close to each other as compared to the particles of gases, or you can say the particles of the gases are far away from each other and their intermolecular forces is very less. So particles of gases Intramolecular forces between them. Part B, figure 3.1 shows a rectangular block floating in water. So block is floating and the density of the water is 1000 kg per meter cube and the vertical height or depth of the block in the liquid is also given, that how much object is immersed in the liquid, and the area of the base of the block is 0.014 meters square. This is the area, and the base of the block is a depth of below the surface of water. Show that the pressure due to the water is approximately 850 pascals. So we only need to show pressure in liquid, and that is very simple because the formula of pressure in liquid you all know about it. That is equals to so density is 1000 9.8 0.087 852.6. So round off 850 pascals. Part 2. Calculate the force F on the base of the block caused by the pressure given in part B1. So now you have to calculate the force. So to calculate the force, that is also simple. We have to use the first formula, that is for solid. Force is equals to, pressure is equals to force upon area, or force is equals to pressure into area. So pressure we calculated is equals to 850 and the area is given already 0.014. Eleven 11.9, that is 12. Part 3, force F is equal to the weight of the block. Calculate the mass of the block. So from which formula you can calculate the mass? W equals to mg. So now 12 divided by 9.8. So this is very simple question. 1.2 kg. Next question. So a girl holds a rubber ball out of a window of a tall building. The mass of the ball is 0.2 kg and the ball is at rest 10 meter above a concrete path. Calculate the gravitational potential energy of the ball relative to the concrete path. So we know that how to find out the gravitational potential energy, that is equals to mgh.
$19.6.
So round of 20 joules is the gravitational potential energy for this part. And the girl releases the ball and it falls towards the path. The ball strikes the ground, the path, and the bounces vertically upward. And figure 1.1 shows the ball falling towards the path and the total height is given 10 meter. The speed of the ball immediately before it strikes the path is 14 meter per second. The ball immediately after it strikes the path is 12. So before it is 14, after immediately after is 12 meter per second. Calculate the kinetic energy of the ball immediately after it strikes the concrete path. So mass is 0.2. So what will be the answer for the kinetic energy? Because they are asking immediately after, so definitely we use speed immediately after. And speed is 1 point, sorry, 12 square.
14.4.
14.4, right. So 14 joules is the answer for in two significant figures. And the second part is show that the change in momentum. So we have to show change in momentum of the ball when it bounces off the path is 5.2 kg meter per second. So now we have to show the change in momentum. So change in momentum means
Wait, so can you go up?
this
No,
one.
no, like just show the values, that's all. Okay, answer.
Because initially the girl drops the ball and it strikes the ground and it bounces back. So again, we have opposite direction of the velocity. So that's why they are asking about change in momentum, final momentum minus initial momentum, right? So for final momentum, we know that mass remains the same, or we can also use concept like this. Mass is 0.2 and the final velocity is 12. So let's suppose if we are taking this sign as negative, final as negative, initial as positive, it will be equals to 0.2 into 26. And we just ignore that sign now because that sign is only for the direction. So this sign is not required in our answer because this is just for the reference of direction. So 0.2 multiplied by 26. Okay, any confusion? Because in the concept of the momentum, always remember about the direction change in direction of the velocity. So that is very important. Otherwise, you will get wrong answer. And in the final part, you have to calculate the average resultant force. The ball is in contact with the path for 0.25 seconds and calculate the average resultant force on the ball when it is contact with the path. So time is 0.25 seconds and we have to find out the average resultant force. So we know that we are working with the momentum. So definitely we have to use the formula that is linked with the momentum to find out the force.
MV minus MU over T.
Yes. So force is equals to rate of change of momentum divided by time, and that rate of change of momentum exactly means v minus u. So we already calculated that change in momentum, that is 5.2,
21 newtons.
right? So 21 Newton is the answer. Okay, so in this question, you have to define pressure.
Force per unit area.
Yes, so we know that pressure is simple force acting per unit area. And in the next part, describe how the pressure in liquid varies with its depth and with its density. So first of all, they are asking about depth and then the density. So how pressure is linked with the depth? Let's suppose if we increase the depth, because in pressure in liquid formula, all factors are directly proportional, density, value of G, and the height. So pressure also increases. And in part B, they are asking about the density. So density is also directly to the pressure. Again, this is also like a repeated concept because we got this type of question in new paper also. So state two energy resources for which the sun is not the main source.
Nuclear, tidal.
Yes. In part C, state and explain whether each of the following methods of electrical power generation is renewable. So power generation in a nuclear power plant. So is it renewable or non-renewable? So the power generation by using nuclear power station is non-renewable, and the explanation is that we required fission reaction as a fuel for nuclear power station. And what about the waves in the sea? Definitely, this will be renewable. And explanation will be that waves are always in motion. So this is also like a basic concept related to the energy resources. Now we have next question. Figure 1.1 shows a balloon filled with helium gas. So it is filled with helium gas. And the mass of the balloon is 120 kg. Calculate the weight of the balloon. Show your working. So that is
1200 Newton.
yes.
Wait, sir, don't we use 9.8?
Yes, in our
Round off.
yes. In our practice session, we are using 9.8. So even if we are using the old questions, so that will be equals to 1176. But
Yeah.
after using 9.8, still we got the round of same answer. So round off, you will definitely get the same answer 1200. But in your working, it is important to show that you are using the new value, not the older one. And the resultant force on the balloon is 54 Newton. And the acceleration of the on the balloon is also given. So show that the acceleration. So basically you have to show the acceleration is equals to this. So again, that is also very simple. We know resultant force is given, F is given. F is equals to ma. A is equals to F over m. So force is equals to 54 divided by 120. So acceleration will be equals to 0.45 meter per second square. And in C part, the balloon accelerates up from the rest at 0.45 meter per second square for 8 seconds. So calculate the velocity of the balloon after 8 seconds. And it is starting from rest. Time is this. Velocity is unknown. So in this question, acceleration is given, time is given, velocity is not given. Starting from rest means initial velocity is 0. So all the quantities are given related to the acceleration formula. So velocity will be equals to acceleration into time. So acceleration is 0.45 into time 8. Three 3.6 meter per second. And calculate the distance traveled by the balloon in the first 8 seconds. So the calculating distance is also simple. Again, the idea of the formula for the velocity. Velocity is equals to average velocity is equals to distance over the time. Uh, okay, so the balloon accelerates upward from the rest at 0.45. Okay, so since in question it is given, it is accelerating from the rest, and we don't know that for how many time it will be in rest. Then it starts to accelerate with 0.45. So we have to use the concept of average acceleration, sorry, average velocity. And this velocity is actually average because we have before and after case in this question also. It is mentioned in the first 8 seconds. So when body is in rest and when body is moving, so that is the average idea. So distance is equals to velocity over velocity into time. This is average. So average velocity means 3.6 divided by 2 multiplied by time. We divided by 2 because we are using average. And why we are using average? Because in question it is mentioned it accelerates from the rest. So when body is in rest and it starts to accelerate, so during acceleration its speed will be different. And when it reaches 8 seconds, so at that point its speed will be different. So that's why we don't know the exact change in the time period from 0 to this 8 seconds. So we are using average acceleration. And this is also the total velocity we calculated. That is the average velocity. So we use also the concept of average velocity over here. So distance is equals to 1.8 multiplied by 8. 14.4 round off 14 meter.
सर राउंड ऑफ करना जरूरी है?
हम राउंड ऑफ इसलिए कर रहे हैं और क्वेश्चन में, ताकि हम टू सिग्निफिकेंट फिगर्स तक जो करना होता है राउंड ऑफ, उसकी एक प्रैक्टिस भी हो जाएगी। ठीक है, आप डेली प्रैक्टिस करोगे क्वेश्चंस की तो आपके वो एक माइंड में यूज टू हो जाएगी। वैसे इतना कंपलसरी नहीं होता, लेकिन फिर वो कभी कभार कंफ्यूजन होती है ना, आप आंसर मैच करने लगते हो तो आपको डिफरेंट लगता है। तो इस वजह से राउंड ऑफ अगर आप कर लो तो वो आपको एक आइडिया भी हो जाएगा राउंड ऑफ करने का, और इजी भी हो जाएगा आपके लिए आंसर्स के साथ मैच करना। ठीक है, क्योंकि ए लेवल्स में तो फिर हम इसको फॉलो ही कर रहे होते हैं स्ट्रिक्टली, तो इसलिए उनका पैटर्न वो सेम टू सिग्निफिकेंट्स पे चलता आ रहा होता है। ठीक है,
ओके सर।
इसमें भी जैसे हमारे पास 1176 था, हमने से 12 के क्लोज था 1200 कर दिया, 1 और 2 सिग्निफिकेंट, और दोनों जीरो सिग्निफिकेंट नहीं है, तो दो सिग्निफिकेंट फिगर्स। आई थिंक वी ऑलरेडी प्रैक्टिस दिस क्वेश्चन राइट। सरफेस एरिया ज्यादा होगा तो एरिया डिक्रीज हो जाएगा, और इससे पहले क्या था? ठीक है, ठीक है। वैसे कुछ क्वेश्चंस हम वैसे ही एयरली सॉल्व कर रहे थे, तो शायद हमने किए भी होंगे, कोई मत उसका इशू नहीं है। मैं मार्क कर दूंगा कि लास्ट हमने कहाँ स्टॉप किया था, और बाकी आप भी अगर कुछ क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करोगे तो फिर हम उन्हें स्किप करके बाकी न्यू क्वेश्चन से स्टार्ट करेंगे जो सॉल्व नहीं किए पहले। So a student catches a cricket ball and the speed of the ball immediately before it is caught 18 meter per second, and the mass of the cricket ball is 160 gram. Calculate the kinetic energy. It is also very simple. It is equals to half mv square. मास को केजी में कन्वर्ट करना है, ग्राम्स में गिवन है। स्पीड 18 स्क्वायर, 25.9। अब आप ये देखो 25.9 है, आपको भी पता है 26 के क्लोज है, तो आप भी इसे राउंड ऑफ 26 लिखोगे ताकि ये इजी हो जाए आपके लिए। And it takes 0.12 seconds to catch the ball and bring it to rest. So इस टाइम पीरियड में उसे रेस्ट में ले आए बॉल को, और एवरेज फोर्स कैलकुलेट करनी है ऑन द बॉल। तो अब यहाँ पे टाइम गिवन है, मास, स्पीड। सो मास इनटू वेलोसिटी ओवर टाइम। अगेन ये सेम आपको कॉन्सेप्ट देगा, मोमेंटम से रिलेटेड, इम्पल्स से रिलेटेड। रेट ऑफ चेंज ऑफ मोमेंटम इज इक्वल्स टू द फोर्स, और मोमेंटम को हम स्प्लिट कर सकते हैं, m इज इक्वल्स टू 0.16, और एक्सेलरेशन जो होगी हमारे पास वेलोसिटी ओवर टाइम, यानी 18/0.12,
$24.
24। हम F इक्वल्स टू एम ए से भी कर सकते हैं इसको, बेसिकली हमने उसी फॉर्मूला से कैलकुलेट किया 24 न्यूटन। और फाइनल पार्ट, as the student catches the ball, she moves her hand backward. So explain the effect of this action on the student's hands. So when she catches the ball, she tries to move her hand in backward direction. So what is the importance of this?
More force
Reduces
exerted.
impulse.
Less force, right? Impact will be decreased, because in normal cricket game also, uh, the players also used to use this concept, because from the formula you can see, if you increase the time, so the impact of the force decreases. So the impact,
सर हम ये भी कह सकते हैं कि मतलब कम शॉक एब्जॉर्ब होता है।
ये भी कह सकते हो।